Imagine Ireland without the 800 years that tried to erase her. Not the island of struggle and immigration. Not the island reduced to a symbol on St. Patrick's Day parade. Not the island that was told for century after century that her language was worthless, that her culture was primitive, that her land was not her own. The island that was always there, underneath everything that tried to take, waiting. Welcome to the island that was always meant to be. Before we imagine the future, we must speak the truth of the past. Ireland is one of the oldest civilizations in Europe. When much of the continent was still finding its way, Irish monks were preserving the knowledge of the ancient world. The Book of Kells, the illuminated manuscripts, the monasteries that kept literature alive while Europe burned. Ireland gave civilizations some of the greatest gifts long before anyone came to take anything from her. And then, in 1169, the first Norman invasion began that would become 800 years of British rule. 800 years. Let that number sit with you for a moment. 800 years of a people being told that who they were was not enough. The penal laws enacted in the 1600s and the 1700s made it illegal to be Catholic in Ireland. Illegal to own land, illegal to receive an education, illegal to speak the Irish language in certain contexts. A people criminalized for simply being themselves. And then, the darkest chapter of all, the Great Famine. 1845 to 1852, a potato blight, yes, but what followed was not just a natural disaster. It was a policy decision. While 1 million Irish people starved to death, food was being exported from Ireland to Britain. Shipload of grain, cattle, butter, pork left Irish ports under armed guard as Irish families lay dying by the roadside. 1 million dead. 1 million more emigrated. On coffin ships, crossing an ocean with nothing but the memory of a home they would never see again. Today, there are 70 million people of the Irish descent living outside Ireland. More Irish people outside Ireland than inside it. That is not emigration. That is a wound that has never fully healed. But this is not a story of pain. This is a story of what Ireland looks like without the interruption, without the 800 years. Imagine an island where the famine never happened, where those 1 million lives were lived, where those 1 million voices were heard. Ireland's population today instead of 5 million, would be closer to 20 million people. 20 million Irish people on this island. A nation of writers, poets, musicians, and thinkers at full capacity. The Irish language, one of the oldest living languages in Europe. Not a subject taught reluctantly in schools, but the first language of a nation. Spoken in the streets of Dublin and Cork and Galway, as naturally as English is spoken today. A culture fully expressed in its own tongue. Celtic art, already one of the most distinctive and beautiful art traditions in the world, leading global design, fashion, and architecture. An island that never had to leave itself behind. Without colonization, Ireland's relationship with the Atlantic Ocean tells a completely different story. The same wild Atlantic coastline that watched millions leave in desperation now drives one of the most dynamic maritime economies in the Northern Hemisphere. Irish shipbuilding, Irish fishing, Irish Atlantic trade routes. The natural resources of this island, the wind, the water, the fertile land, the fish, managed entirely by Irish hands. Dublin, in this imagined present, is not just a tech hub borrowed from American corporations. It is a capital city that grew from its own roots. A financial centre built on Irish wealth, not foreign investment. A university system ranked among the finest in the world, built on a tradition of learning that stretches back to those monks in their monasteries, keeping knowledge alive when the rest of the world had forgotten. And the creative economy? Irish literature already produced Yeats, Joyce, Beckett, Keane. Imagine what a full, uninterrupted Irish civilization would have given the world. The stories never written because their authors starved on a roadside in Clare. The music never composed because its creator crossed the Atlantic on a coffin ship. The paintings never made. The discoveries never discovered. The ideas never born. Without colonization, all of that lives. Of all the things that colonization tried to take from Ireland, none cuts deeper than the language. The Irish language, Gaelic, is one of the most beautifully expressive languages human beings have ever created. It does not have a dialect word for yes or no. Instead, it responds to every question with presence. Not, yes I do, but it is I who does. A language built on connection, on presence, on relationship. In schools during British rule, children were beaten for speaking it. A stick called the better score was hung around the neck of any child caught using their mother tongue. A language beaten out of a people. In the island without colonization, that never happened. The Irish language is spoken by 20 million people on this island. It is taught in universities across Europe. It is celebrated as one of humanity's great linguistic treasures. And when an old woman in a Connemara sings a Sean Knowles song to her grandchildren, she's not preserving something almost lost. She's simply living in the language she was born into, as it always should have been. 70 million people of the Irish descent live outside Ireland today. In America, in Australia, in Britain, in Argentina, in every corner of the world. They built cities, they built industries, they built nations with Irish hands, Irish determination, Irish wit and resilience. Imagine if that energy, that creativity, that extraordinarily capacity to build had been allowed to stay. To build Ireland. The Irish Americans who became presidents and senators, what would they have built in Dublin? The Irish Australians who built Melbourne and Sydney, what would they have built in Cork and Limerick? Every generation of the Irish diaspora carries something they can't fully name. A pull toward a place some of them have never even seen. A belonging that colonization created by taking something away. Without colonization, they never had to leave. An island got to keep them. There is a phrase in Irish, Tegan Changa, Tegan Anam. A land without a language is a land without a soul. For 800 years, Ireland fought to keep her soul. In kitchens where stories were whispered in Irish even when it was forbidden. In fields where songs were sung in a language that landlords couldn't understand. In the hearts of every Irish person who boarded a coffin ship and carried the sound of their mother tongue across the Atlantic, because it was the one thing no one could take from their body. An old woman sits by a fire in Kerry. She's 93 years old. She's lived through more than most people would ever understand. And she tells her grandchild a story in Irish. The same story her grandmother told her in Irish. The same story that was told for 1,000 years before that in Irish. The language didn't die. The soul didn't die. Ireland didn't die. She was just waiting for the interruption to end. This is not just a dream. This is not just a fantasy. Ireland had everything she needed. The land, the language, the people, the spirit. All she needed was to be left alone to become what she always was. Ireland without colonization. A nation of 20 million voices speaking their own language, living on their own land, telling their own story, as it always was meant to be. If this moved you, share it with every Irish person you know. Share it with everyone who has ever felt that something was taken from their people. Because this story, it's not just Ireland's story, it's the story of every nation in this series. Tell us in the comment which country we should imagine next. The most liked comment we bring to life. Because every nation has a version of itself the world hasn't seen yet. And we are here to show it. Take on Chongo, take on Annam. A land without a language is a land without a soul. Dedicated to the 70 million people of Irish descent worldwide, and to the 1 million who never got to leave.